Tune into Sports 360 with Ahmed Hamad.
On the second day of the first cricket test match between Australia and Sri Lanka at Galle, Sri Lanka, in replies to Australia's first innings score of 654 for the loss of 6 wickets, was 44 for the loss of 3 at close of play today. Sri Lanka still trailed by 610 runs with 7 wickets in hand. When the stumps were drawn early because of the rain, Sri Lanka in the second innings were 44 for the loss of 3 wickets, with Dinesh Chandimal batting on 9 along with Kamindu Mandis, who's batting on 13. Earlier, Australia resumed their first inning at the overnight score of 330 for the loss of 2 wickets, with Usman Khawaja batting on 147 and Steven Smith batting on 104. They both took their partnership of 195 to 266 for the third wicket of 419 balls. Usman Khawaja contributed 121 of 168 balls and Steven Smith made 141 of 251 balls in the 266 runs partnership for the third wicket. The 266 runs third wicket partnership was broken when Australia reached at 401 in the 100th over, and their stand-in captain Steven Smith was out after scoring 141 of 251 balls, hitting 12 fours and 2 sixes with a strike rate of 56. He was legged before by Jeffrey Van der Sey. Then Usman Khawaja with the debutant Josh Inglis put on another 146 runs for the fourth wicket of 172 balls. Usman Khawaja contributed 54 of 93 and Josh Inglis made 87 of 79 runs in the fourth wicket partnership. Australia reached 547 when they lost their fourth wicket, and that is of Usman Khawaja. Usman Khawaja made his first double century, scoring 232 runs of 352 balls, staying at the crease for 503 minutes, hitting 16 fours and 1 6 with a strike rate of 66. He was caught by Kamindu Mandis off the bowling of Parbat Jayasuriya. 23 runs later, Josh Inglis also departed after scoring 102, scoring a century on his debut of 94 balls with the help of 10 fours and 1 6 with a strike rate of 109. He was also caught by Kamindu Mandis off the bowling of Parbat Jayasuriya. Then Alex Carey and Webster put on 59 runs for the 6-wicket partnership of 98 balls. Alex Carey made 33 of 48 and Webster 23 of 50 balls. They took their team total to 629 when they lost their 6th wicket. Beau Webster in the 150th over, he made 23 of 50 balls, hitting 1-4. In the end, in the final session of the day, Mitchell Starc and Alex Carey made 25 of 28 balls. Mitchell Starc 19 of 19 and Alex Carey 5 of 9 when their stand-in captain Steven Smith declared their first inning at 654 for the loss of 6 wickets. Australia batted for 154 overs, scoring their runs at a run rate of 4.24, hitting 54 fours and 6 sixes. Out of 654 runs, Australian batsmen scored 252 runs through boundaries. Usman Khawaja's historical double century and Josh Inglis' explosive debut century powered Australia to a massive 654 for the loss of 6 wickets before declaring midway through the second session on day 2. Sri Lanka's response was faltered quickly, with the top order crumbling under pressure and losing 3 wickets in the first 10 overs. At Stumps, Sri Lanka were 44 for the loss of 3, still trailing by 610 runs. Khawaja's 232 anchored the innings, while Inglis blazed his way to 102 of just 94 balls, becoming the third Australian to score a test century on a debut in Asia. Mitchell Starc and debutant Matthew Kuhnemann led the charge with the ball, taking key early wickets, and Nathan Lyon added further misery by dismissing Angelo Mathews. Australia's aggressive batting and Sri Lanka's lackluster bowling and fielding made for a commanding position for the visitors, who dominated the opening 2 days. Australia have completely capitalized on winning a favourable toss and batting first on a slow surface amid stifling humidity as they amassed their highest ever total against Sri Lanka. Khawaja finished with 232 of 352 balls and fell early in the second session, dominated by Inglis, who became the first Australian debutant to score a Test century since Adam Voges, his Western Australian coach, in 2015. England-born Inglis reached his century of just 90 balls, and he jumped high before punching the air with his proud parents visibly emotional in the terrace. He joined Michael Clarke and Shaun Marsh as Australian century makers on Test debut in Asia. Inglis showcased his proficiency against the spin with a decisive footwork, either by skipping down the track or rocking back deep into the crease. His aggressiveness and maturity, having captained Australian one-day and T20 cricket recently, reinforced why the selectors were keen to shoehorn him in the side. Usman Khawaja had earlier notched his highest Test score, overtaking his 195 not out against South Africa at Sydney in 2023, when rain forced an Australian declaration. Stephen Smith, who was out after scoring 141 runs, where he became the fourth Australian to reach 10,000 Test runs en route to his 35th century. The 38-year Usman Khawaja celebrated his first Test double century just before lunch as he kneeled down and bowed to the turf as the fans, many of whom are Australians, applauded with gusto. He had earlier overtaken Justin Langer's 166 in Colombo in 2004 as the highest score by an Australian in Sri Lanka. Having struggled against the spin earlier in his career in South Asia, Khawaja has become only the second Australian after Alan Border to make Test centuries in India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Khawaja has won back the clock after an 18-month Test century drought, having most recently against India, struggling at the hands of tormentor Jasprit Bumrah. 154 overs were bowled by Sri Lankans and they were really tied. Ashita Fernando, the only fast bowler, bowled 15 overs with one maiden and gave away 77 runs without taking a wicket. His economy was 1.13. Then Nishan Paris, 41 over one maiden, 189 runs without taking a wicket. But Parbat Jayasuriya and Jeffrey Van Der Sey, who almost bowled 100 overs in between. Parbat Jayasuriya, 60 overs, a marathon spell. 8 were maiden. He gave away 193 runs and captured 3 wickets. While Jeffrey Van Der Sey also bowled 38 overs and gave away 182 runs, capturing just 3 wickets. In reply, Sri Lanka were 44 for the loss of 3 wickets at close of play. They lost their first wicket at 7. Ushada Fernando was out in the second over, legged before by Kuhnemann for just 7 runs. Then they lost the second wicket of Damit Karunaratne. Sri Lanka were 15 and Damit Karunaratne was caught by substitute Max Sweeney, bowled by Starc for 7, and this was also Mitchell Starc's 700 wicket in international cricket. Then, in the dying moment of the day, Sri Lanka lost their most experienced Angelo Mathews, their third wicket at 30 in the 10th over, and Angelo Mathews was caught by Travis Head after bowling off Nathan Lyon for 7. At the close of play, Dinesh Chandimal was not out on 9 along with Kamindu Mendes on 13. Sri Lanka is still trailed by 610 runs with 7 wickets in hand. Looking at the Australian bowling, Mitchell Starc 4 overs, 10 runs and 1 wicket. Matthew Kuhnemann 5 overs, 1 maiden, 26 runs and 1 wicket, while Nathan Lyon 5 overs, 2 maiden, 7 runs and 1 wicket, and Todd Murphy also bowled 1 over, which was maiden.
Keep on watching Sports 360 with Ahmed Hamad for latest news, views, and interviews of sports personalities from around the world.